Ask Tunisians, what are the biggest changes since the fall of President Zine Abidine Ben Ali on January 14, 2011? And they will tell you, it's media freedom. And you can see it. On the newsstands, on the airwaves, online, Tunisia is talking.
The public realm erupted with people who once didn't have the right to express themselves freely, and who finally came to bring a different rhetoric to what existed in the past.
We can see all political opinions being portrayed on TV. Ideologies ranging from the far right to the far left. This is something that we didn't see before. The ruling party's opposition, people openly criticizing the government.
That government, until it stepped down in January this year, was the Troika coalition led by the Ennahda party, which advocated for Islam to play a greater role in Tunisian politics and society. A vision that did not sit well with the secular opposition and its media apparatus. Channels like Nesma TV, which existed under Ben Ali, and Tunisia attacked the government in scathing critiques and heated debates on talk shows. Troika and its supporters reacted by setting up channels of their own like Mutawassat, Zitwan, and the religious channel TNN, which say that they are out to counterbalance what is being said on opposition channels. Tunisia's media were no longer censored, they were polarized.
It was at this moment that we could detect the start of a conflict between those who wanted to reinforce freedom of speech with clear, definable regulations, and those who followed what I call a culture inherited from the past. I am the strongest, therefore I will impose my viewpoint on the media landscape.
Mon point de vue dans l'espace médiatique.
Let me say that press freedom in Tunisia is only nascent. From what we have seen at the beginning of the revolution, we can say there was an apparent lack of discipline, ethics, and absolute freedom. The state was weak, which in turn gave the journalists a large margin of freedom.
When regimes fall, the media tend to burgeon, and usually at a rate that outpaces the necessary regulatory framework. That's what's happened in Tunisia. In the Ben Ali era, there were 5 television stations. Today, there are 17. But many are owned or funded by political parties or by businessmen with close ties to those political parties. And the coverage on offer to Tunisians ahead of the elections is often far too partial. We spoke to voters to gauge how useful they have found the new privately owned media outlets going into the election.
نحاول شوية من فيسبوك شوية انترنت يعني ما نتبعش ياسر تلفزيون خاطر ما نحسوش الكل صادق هكا كي جاو يعطيو في الصحيح نجم نختار بكل سهولة تامة
لازمك تعرف شنو تختار ومانا سورس دانفورماسيون فهمت خاطر فما برشا معناتها مثلا تلفز ولا اذاعات هما متحزبين هذوك الحقيقة معناتها ما يكونوش كريديبل برشا وما تكونش معناتها الانفورماسيون نتاعهم صحيحة 100% اكثر منها معناتها باش تخدم مصلحة انتخابية نتاع طرف على حساب طرف آخر.
To deal with that, the government set up a new regulator called the High Independent Authority of Audiovisual Communication, known as HAICA. It set new regulations for media coverage during the electoral campaign, but has struggled to exert its authority over some channels. Hannibal and Nesma TV, 2 of the 3 privately owned channels licensed under Ben Ali, have refused to comply with the new regulations and are yet to renew their licenses. This is not the first controversy that Nesma TV has faced. In 2012, the channel's director, Nabil Karoui, was convicted of disturbing public order and violating moral values after broadcasting an animated film called Persepolis that some religious leaders say insulted Islam. He was hit with a small fine. Karoui makes no secret of his secular bias. He doesn't like HAICA's new regulations and, it appears, does not respect the authority.
No one of them worked one day in TV or in a radio station. They don't understand. The HAICA came and said, okay, we have to treat all the people who are participating in the election in the same way. Maybe I don't like Islamists or I don't like communists. Okay, I'm a private media. I can have my opinion. And I'm happy to have other media who have the opinion contrary to me. Let me tell you how it doesn't work. We have 50 candidates for the presidentielle. If I had to treat the 50 in the same way, maybe I have to launch 3 channels, opening them only for these guys. How I can do that? It's impossible.
Les petits médias sont obligés de se soumettre.
Small media have to submit because they don't have the means to oppose HAICA. But media of the old regime, at least those created under the old regime, still want to impose their own rules on the advertising issue, on the electoral debate issue, on the balance issue, on the hate speech, which is sometimes broadcast on TV.
Des fois propagé sur certaines télés.
Ce n'est pas l'HAICA contre les journalistes.
It's not HAICA against journalists or HAICA against freedom of speech. That is not what we're about. This conflict is between a minority of media owners who had privileges during Ben Ali's reign and who want to continue to act outside the regulatory framework.
Ostensibly, this conflict boils down to money, influence, and what many see as a sense of entitlement among media that existed under Ben Ali. HAICA says it's trying to separate media and politics by removing the money. According to its new regulations, political parties can't own, fund, even advertise on television. But in an election year, politicians need the exposure. And in the new commercially driven market, the media need the money. So in effect, HAICA has not succeeded in stopping politicians throwing money at the media. It's just not happening above board.
They said, no way that there is a political advertisement. The party find themselves, they have to pay under the table, moving things, buying some media, buying journalists, etc., because it's not transparent. And I said to them, you will always have money in the ground. Make it transparent.
L'argent sale, entre guillemets.
Dirty money has really polluted the media landscape in Tunisia and created a lot of connivance between a certain class of business people with corrupt motives and these TV channels who clearly have political agendas. And this influx of money in the media has exacerbated the problem of credibility.
Under the old regime, censorship prevented the media from serving in the public's interest. Today, to a lesser degree, political money and influence do the same thing. The revolution brought the Tunisian media their freedom. The one thing, despite all that political money, that most news outlets cannot buy, here in the birthplace of the Arab Spring, is journalistic credibility.
For those looking for alternative media outlets in Tunisia, on the television side, there's Telvza TV. Launched a year ago, it's a collective owned partially by journalists who work there, and no investor can own more than a 3% stake. That model is designed to ensure editorial independence, but is it sustainable? Telvza is still broadcasting, but it's struggling to compete and has been losing viewership. Then there are alternative news sources that are online. Nawat.org is a 10-year-old independent collective blog publishing primarily in Arabic and in French. It provided a platform for some dissident voices under Ben Ali, but was only accessible to a tech-savvy few since the website was blocked by the regime until the day after it fell. Then there's Inkifada.com, launched in June of this year by a former staffer at Nawat. It publishes in French and references its sources thoroughly, providing readers with links to source material. Finally, those who want their news in English tend to go to Tunisia Live. It's an independent multimedia site which also does work for international news channels, including Al Jazeera. Tunisia Live launched in April of 2011, just after the revolution.